Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Of course, it's been in all the air, the soldiers that were ambushed and the outrage that is felt in the public, talking about an area of Delta State and in the Delta community. Indeed, that's our caption, as you can see, outrage over the killing of 17 military men in Delta. Our guest this morning, we got a security consultant, Dennis Amakari, MON, former director of the DSS. He's one of our guests this morning. He's reaching us remotely. A fine morning to you, Dennis. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Yori.
Okay, and we also have Ken Okolugbo. Mr. Ken Okolugbo is a public affairs analyst. He's reaching us from our Abuja studio. I am Yori Folari in Lagos. Good morning to you, Ken.
Morning, Uncle Yori. It's good to see you again.
My pleasure. Great. Let me just, before we begin our conversation, I have a number. As I said, everybody knows that there's a sense of outrage. What has happened is like an abomination. A lot of people can't even figure it out as we speak. In fact, rulers of communities in that area, the Delta King of Ewu Kingdom in Okwama community, has condemned the act. That's one of the videos we'll start off with. Let's take that video.
Killing of 15 military personnel who were on peacekeeping mission over the crisis between Okoloba community in Bomadi local government area and Okwama in Ugile south of Delta State has attracted condemnation as the military continues to search for the perpetrators. The king of Ewu Kingdom, where Okwama community is part, has condemned the act by the youths.
It is a very sad news what has happened. First of all, I would like to state clearly that when this whole crisis thing started between my community, Okwama, and the Ejo community, Okoloba, I was in the UK at the time, at some point early this year, I believe. But I contacted the government regarding the crisis, and the information they gave to me was that the government had invited both parties to resolve the issue, and that in fact it had been resolved.
The trouble between the two neighbors is not clear, but last December, the people of Okoloba community alleged that their neighboring Okwama community had invaded and attacked their farmlands, fishing grounds, and indigenes on several occasions. The traditional ruler, who is still in shock about what happened, condemns the act.
These military men, they are people who are there to protect our nation. They should be held in high esteem. They are there to protect us from people who are there to invade and or to commit heinous crimes. It is very sad that these same people who are there to protect us, who are one of us, that this kind of heinous crime will be carried out and they will be killed in the process. It is very, very sad. It is disheartening. I totally condemn it. It is unacceptable.
Also, the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oborowore, through a statement, condemned the unprovoked killing of military officers and soldiers. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Asaba. Bomadi is now the base of operation of the General Officer Commanding of the 6th Division of the Nigerian Army as the manhunt for the killers of the Army personnel enters day 4. But the presence of the Army here and communities around is taking a toll on the economic activities of these agrarian communities.
Because of soldiers don't cover all the town. When they feel say, all my customers don't run finish.
The park is scanty. There is no free movement. Vehicles are not moving. So the transportation system is now suffocating.
For these Ijaw people, they have been enjoying a harmonious relationship with their Urobo neighbors until the recent conflict that affected it. They want a quick resolution.
make government come do peace. If these people not be from this local government, na so then they talk, then from Ogele side. But if this, because this fight, make them put for here, make everybody they relax.
So far, the military has recovered some bodies of their slain colleagues and some arrests have been made, but the perpetrators are still at large. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Bomadi, Delta State.
All right, then. Well, that second report, it was seamless in that it just played one after the other. It shouldn't have been like that, but it is what it is. But that was a report about the operations group of the Nigerian Army personnel and their manhunt. It's fourth day of the manhunt for, the killers. And, any way you look at it, you just can't make sense of it. Okay, let me come. Let me speak with Dennis Amakre, a security consultant, about this. I mean, you can hardly think of anything, Dennis. You can hardly think of anything worse than for this to happen within the country. I mean, Nigeria upon Nigeria violence, not just Nigeria upon Nigeria violence, but then professionals, high-ranking professionals. In fact, the mind is still boggled. That's why everybody. Give me your comments on this. It's a sacrilege. It's an abomination, and nobody has been gentle in the words that they have used in condemning this outrage.
Thank you very much, Yori. It is really, really sad. In fact, I am so worried that this is happening at this time. Our condolences and sympathies goes to those families that have lost, people. But you see, it also comes to the extent where people have tried to desecrate the national symbols. People who are, look at soldiers in uniform. Soldiers in uniform. These are our heroes, people who have signed. Out of all the 200 million or so people in this country, these people have come out to sign their lives for the country. And then, of course, for them to be killed by other Nigerians inside this place, I think it's a very, very sad story. And I hope the investigations are going to bring out a lot. And I hope that the investigators are going into this investigation with an open mind. Normally there is always bias when there is investigations going on in things like this. We don't want finger pointing. You can get people from both sides and talk to them, and then, of course, pick out the problem or the solution of what you're looking for.
Okay.
And let it be like that.
Ken, the Army has been at pains to suggest to state that there is no vengeance mission like that, because people are remembering Odi, and people are. In fact, the whole village, the whole community was deserted, according to reports, because people just saw the weight of what has happened dawned on people, and they vacated the community, feeling that there might be some sort of a massacre. Well, I guess the Army has been, sort of explaining that, look, there's nothing like that, afoot. But the president, and indeed other people, but the president has directed, unequivocally that these people must be apprehended, must be found. So speak to the fear of members of the community, because there are members in that community. And you understand the fear that they say the place is deserted now.
Oh yes. First of all, let me commiserate to the widows and children of the fallen soldiers. We're talking about Lieutenant Colonel, 2 majors, a captain, and 12 other rank and file. It's a tragedy. The community, of course, this crisis did not just start today. It's been a crisis, a communal crisis that has been in the offing. I was gladdened to hear the Delta State governor said that now they are on top of the situation. But I would say that the government wasn't proactive, because if they were proactive, they could have nipped this in the bud. There might have not been any need for the soldiers to have gone on that peace mission. Why do I say this? On the 27th of January, if you remember very well, the Okwama community complained that 3 of their children were killed. That was widely published. Igo Mishak, Power Awusa, and Okemute David. And they also alleged that the driver of the speedboat was also killed by the Okoloba community. And for it not to escalate, the government rightly called for a peace meeting between the Okwama and the Okoloba community. And they eventually signed the peace accord on the 7th of February. But that peace accord, of course, people have died. The Okwama people were not satisfied, apparently, and the Okoloba people were also apprehensive that there was going to be revenge. And when this kind of situation happens, you must have a lot of intelligence, because what eventually happened was that while the Okoloba people kept, sending out signals that they were afraid because mercenaries were in the main river and they were doing stop and search, the Okwama people also said the Okoloba people were the ones that were doing the stop and search, because these are riverine communities, Yori. These are not communities that you can just access on land. But eventually culminated in the death of an Okoloba man who was on his farm on the 5th of March. He was abducted. He was said to have been abducted and has been taken to Okwama. That was what was alleged. And eventually this body was recovered on the 9th of March. Pira Zipomene, that is what he's called. And of course, immediately that tension, his body had been recovered, all hell was let loose. That was the point that at least the governor's special advisor on security and the governor's special advisor on conflict resolution should have been able to brief the governor that the tensions had escalated after they had, signed the peace agreement. And maybe policemen would have been stationed. Maybe we don't have, I don't know what the Marine Police is like now in Delta State, but policemen would have been stationed from the Oturojemi police station to keep peace for at least a period of 1 or 2 months till tensions, and they're able to call back the leaders of these communities. Because I remember very well there was this Vincent Odwara who wrote on behalf of the Ewu community of Okwama, and there's this Clement Kogi who was representing the Okoloba community. So if all these were done, and that is why I talked about it being proactive, it might not have culminated into the soldiers having to now visit the Okwama community, because the soldiers visiting the Okwama community might have been perceived to have been taking sides with the Okoloba people, because don't forget that the Okwama people said 3 people died on their own side. The Okoloba people said 1 person died. And this community strife, you can never tell. The only way you can actually tell is when you can use intelligence. And that intelligence is very key, because if you don't have that intelligence, you're not able to act. And so it was something that the state government was already aware of. And so by the time the soldiers arrived, I believe very well it must have been mercenaries, like the Okoloba people have rightly said. You remember they also seized the boat. I don't know, maybe you did not follow that story, Uncle Yori. A boat was seized by the Okoloba community, alleged to have been used by the mercenaries, 2 rifles, a pump action gun, or was it a Dane gun or whatever, but arms and ammunition were sent to the Bomadi police station. And so all these were things that had happened before it culminated into the full-blown crisis that saw the army now coming, and unfortunately 17 lives have been lost to such a communal dispute. It's very sad.
Indeed. Dennis, when you look at it, Ken just touched on the role of intelligence there. And oftentimes when we have been speaking in the past, Dennis, all you security experts talk about the indispensable and invaluable role of intelligence. Was there yet another example of intelligence failure in this whole scenario?
A total intelligence failure scenario where so many things went wrong. Because, you know, the Niger Delta, especially those creeks, have not lacked militants. Militants have been there. Forget about the amnesty program. Militants are all over the place with arms and ammunition. And of course, for a lieutenant colonel and his majors and top officers, you know, going into that kind of place, I think they were kind of relaxed, because I remember when I was working in those areas, you know, before we even send out boats, supply boats to the oil industry at that time, you know, there must be serious intelligence, actionable intelligence. And for the military to go out there, I think there should be an operational, you know, intelligence that was lacking. And, you know, apparently they fell into an ambush or something like that. Now, I'm wondering, I still want the investigation to come up with very concrete results, because there are so many things that are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can't see military officers of the level of lieutenant colonel who is supposed to be in the office and send his boys out, being there himself, you know, and leading all of them. And then, of course, these are trained officers, you know, and for them to fall in there and without even fighting.
Exactly.
Or even if they fought.
They were ambushed.
Yes, they were ambushed, but in an ambush, this is not the first time that military people have been ambushed. At least somebody will escape. And of course, some kind of either wounded or escaped or something. But they got all of them rounded up. And then, of course, the method of killing was something that very gruesome, whoever they are. But it's pointing at cultism, you know, cultism. And of course, most of these cultic militants, some of them, you know, militants and cultics at the same time. So investigation should come up with more things.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, because you've said it, even before this program, the crucial role of intelligence in these kind of situations. Ken Okolobo was alluding to that just before I came to you. Okay, we've opened the phone lines because it seems this is what concerns all Nigerians. It doesn't matter what side of, there are, in fact, on this particular issue, I imagine there are no divides. These are people that were representative of the nation, were doing their duty, they were in uniform, we've just heard. So one doesn't want to be pouring, you know, petrol on the fire. But I think the president has said it, that these people, those responsible, must be fished out. And this is one of those situations where I just feel, you know, I feel optimistic that indeed that assignment is going to be carried out to the letter, because we often hear about situations like this in other crimes where the worst thing you can do as a criminal is to kill a policeman. The worst thing you can do, because then people get the impression that almost every other police, you know, agency puts aside what they were doing before just to get on that case and show that this cannot be done, will not be tolerated. And I think that is the attitude that we are adopting as we are going about this. I imagine that they will be found, and then investigations must be undertaken so that this kind of a thing doesn't happen again. There's so much that we need to hear, I would imagine. Ken, there's so much that we need to find out, and we can only wait on investigations. Much pained as we all are, we can only wait on investigations before we know what really to think about this. But the one thing is that it is absolutely, the one thing that everybody knows without equivocation is that this is absolutely intolerable. Ken, are you still with us? Ken Okolobo?
Yes, I'm with you. Was that a question you were asking me?
Yeah, I was, sort of, I was bringing it to you, even though they kept the camera on me, but, sorry.
Okay, so for example, from what you have said, the military actually has an idea. They have said that there's this militant who has been terrorizing the area. And if you see the Igbomotoru community in Bayelsa was also said to have been attacked by the military. And so for them to have gone to Bayelsa, and when this thing happened in Okwama, that's in Focados and the main river, that would tell you that there is already actionable intelligence that they are working on those who would have perpetrated this heinous crime.
Yes.
But what I say again is, for them to
but it still is
have
sorry,
an
sorry.
idea.
It is very important, isn't it, to wait on, because passions and tempers perhaps are very, very high. So it's probably crucial to wait on reports following the investigations.
Oh yeah, that's why it's not right to mention names now, even though those names have been made available to some people like us who have tried to search about it. You can't mention names until investigations have been completed. But I looked at the angle of the Bayelsa angle that the military operation is also taking place. But it's also important to for immediate succor to come to the innocent civilians, the old women who are said to be in the bush, the young boys who are of school age, and the girls who have been completely displaced from their homes at this material point in time because of fear of reprisal attacks. Everybody knows what happened in OD. And I think nobody would have, imagined the decapitation of soldiers, opening up of their stomachs. I mean, it is horrific, and would not wonder if some of these soldiers take the laws into their hands. It will be very difficult to stop them from doing that when they see the body of their colleagues and see what has happened to those colleagues. So those people who are in the bushes now, immediate succor should come to them. There should be a camp where they can be, relocated. The Delta State government must immediately do this and provide food, provide shelter, so that they will not have double jeopardy. They've lost their homes and they do not have immediate succor. And meanwhile, they are innocent. Because one thing we must understand is that when these things happen, the perpetrators of such, dastardly acts do not stay. They leave the community immediately because they know the consequences of what they have done. So by the time you get into the community and maybe try to, vent your anger on raising houses or killing innocent people, it doesn't solve the problem, because it doesn't now go to the root of the matter, which are those who have committed this crime. So I think the military should quickly at least allow access to the press, so that the press can actually also satisfy themselves that the social media stories of raising houses and killing people are not true in Okwama.
Indeed, right you are, Ken. When you look at this whole situation here, by the way, flags are being flown at half-mast as the Nigerian Army commences a 3-day mourning period for slain soldiers here. When any ordinary person looks at this whole situation, they could only be psychopaths, because what will follow. Nobody, I imagine, attacks the army and gets away with it, even though voices of reason and caution are coming into it. Nobody does that. But the fact that these people did premeditatedly is one way to look at it, although one should be very, very careful about editorializing. But when you see an army group in uniform, these are not intelligence officers, these were not in mufti, and you decide that they are sitting ducks and that you're going to take them on. This is the very, very worrying part of the whole matter, that what manner of people are these that are going to bring fire and brimstone down by that singular act of taking on the military. Okay, we'll take a break now. I see that the time has come, and I don't want to interrupt. I was going to bring this back to Dennis, who is joining us remotely from the U.S., but I don't want him to be interrupted. So I think I'll take that break now, and then we'll go back to Dennis and Amakri and see what the thinking is of terrorists? Because we've been hearing the word cultists, we've been hearing, what is the other word, mercenaries. I don't know, we haven't used the words terrorists here, but you take on an army group in uniform, including high-ranking military officers. We'll be right back. Stay with us, please. Okay, the excruciatingly painful story of a bunch of 17 Nigerian servicemen, including high-ranking officers, having been ambushed, murdered, mown down, as it were, in the Delta community that we're speaking about. The Army has commenced a 3-day of mourning. Flags are flying at half-mast. Newspapers' headlines are reporting different things. 3 suspects have been nabbed, according to the headline on the Vanguard this morning, and have been moved to Army headquarters in Asaba. Akpabio, has fingered, that is Senate President Akpabio has fingered mercenaries. Dennis, I was saying that, mercenaries, and all of these is one thing. Maybe the word, how about, I just couldn't fathom. I couldn't fathom wherever your vantage point was, and you see this group, this sizable group of Nigerian army coming for you, and you have them in your sights, that they are sitting ducks, you proceed to ambush them. That is why I was saying that this one's not terrorist. What kind of a psyche would allow any human being to think in those kind of terms and then do what you do, and then you scatter away and you think that life is going to continue as normal? What's the mindset of people who unleash terror like this?
Of course, Yori, thank you for that question. We tend to, in Nigeria, we tend to give different kinds of nomenclature to different kinds of rascals that are running all over the place with guns. These non-state actors generally are terrorists, because that's what they are. Whether we are calling them bandits or we are calling them the bandits in the north or in the Niger Delta, we call them cultists or whatever. What they are is terrorists. They are terrorists, So these guys are busy terrorizing the society. And then, of course, that was what advised the calling up or the intervention of the military. Now, before we forget this, there is a fundamental flaw that I would like to point out here. The agency, the government agency that is responsible for internal security is the police. Apparently, I've not heard anything, whether even on the mop-up operations that are going on right now, even we've not heard the police was there.
Yeah.
The IG has not said anything. And we are involving the military deeper and deeper in our internal security.
Yeah.
Because, see, this important aspect is what is causing all the problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Military are supposed to be taking care of external threats that face the country. And then, of course, they are not supposed to be operating inside.
Yeah.
But we've involved them, and they are now, in fact, going on operation. When I was there, I know was this joint task force, where you have the army, the DSS, the police, even the civil defense. But now you see only army going out, within to go and do peace talks. I think we need to interrogate this.
Indeed. Okay, Dennis, let me, good morning. Mr. Garuba has been holding on for a while. I think he called in from Makurdi. Am I right? Garuba in Makurdi?
Yes.
Oh, good morning to you, sir. Thank you for holding on. Please go ahead now.
All right, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
To Mr. Dennis and
Mr. Kolubo.
You see, Uncle Yori, let's be honest with ourselves and sincere in this country. Anyone that comes out that said it's a machinery from other place that came is just trying to cover up. Those guys that do this nonsense, they are Nigerians. They are from that place. Nobody will come from another part of the world and perpetrate this evil act. It's planned, it's premeditated. Let's tell ourselves the truth. See the gallant commander that was killed. I heard that his daughter, army officer, was killed in Katsina State by bandits. Imagine the kind of anger that the family they are going through now. Let's be sincere to ourselves. Some people that they sacrifice themselves to the country for you and I to sleep. Someone will kill them, will murder them, do some of that, dismantle their body, and someone will say someone outside that camp, who does that? Who knows the environment? Who knows the terrain? Those guys that don't do those things, they are there, and I'm calling on the government. Honestly, the traditional ruler in that place, those community, should be arrested and responsible. This thing has been lingering for long. They still come out and say, and the state government is complicit.
Okay.
Something like that is going on. They will not do anything. Let me give you an example of what happened in Benin State the last year during former government. Also, please. They killed 3 Air Force men because there is a crisis between Ikiti and State. So, and are going on a big mission like this. The other side believe that because they have major general, they sorry to tell you, they have a general that is current serving general is somewhere part of the country serving. They believe that he's done the same military to assist them. Whether he's wrong, it's perception. They depend on those military guys. They kill 3 of them. So no don't have to come out, please they beg. You know how this thing has been happening in the country. We have to put stop to this nonsense.
All right then.
Thank
you very much. Indeed, we can appreciate the way you feel. Most Nigerians, all Nigerians, one can go ahead and say, are outraged at this. And Ken, when we earlier, before that call came in, Dennis was speaking about where we find ourselves increasingly today, where the army is doing the work that is perceived as really police, policing duty. Would you like to speak to that a bit? Because I imagine that what we have
remember when I was
what we have come to understand when this thing is thought, sorry Ken, is it that people sort of determine that this one passed the hand of police, and so call in the army? Go ahead now, Ken.
You see, the thing about it is what I was saying. The Commissioner of Police said that they can't come in now because the army is already conducting an operation, and he will need the permission of the commanding officer now for him to be able to move his men into the place, but that he's getting intelligence from the DPO. Why am I saying this? He shouldn't have gotten to this stage where the police is totally oblivious of what is happening inside of Okwama. If they were proactive, if the police was proactive, acting in concert with the special advisors to the governors on conflicts resolution and security, they would have stationed policemen already. And if policemen were stationed in those 2 communities, they would have been a buffer, and they would have helped to nip it in the bud. Because even when the other caller was talking about the fact that they were saying mercenaries, when they say mercenaries, it doesn't mean that they are foreigners. Mercenaries can be people who have come from another state. They can be called mercenaries. When the Koloba people were shouting that they had seen mercenaries, they actually took a boat. Do you understand, Uncle Yori? The boat was taken to the Bomadi police station, where arms, charms, and everything were abandoned. Did they follow the lead of that boat that was abandoned? There was obviously failure of intelligence, and they were not being proactive. Interestingly, the governor of Delta State used to be a special advisor on security when I was a commissioner there to my boss. And so the governor knows a whole lot about security arrangement. But I would say, well, even though the buck stops at his table and he will be devastated at this material point in time, I'm sure he's going to rejig his special advisors, having been someone who has been on that terrain. Because there was enough alarm from the 20th of February up until the 8th of March, when the body of that Piga Zipomene was dumped into the river, which culminated into the escalation of this crisis. So it wasn't like they were oblivious of the fact that there was no tension. And then again, apart from the fact that the police would have been stationed there, the local government chairman of Bomadi and Ugeli South, whose tenure had expired, should have been given privilege, even though their tenure has expired, they should have been given privilege to continue until such a time that the crisis, even if not in official capacity, they should have still been left there to continue to interface, because apparently the body came on the 8th of March or 9th of March. Their tenures expired on the 7th, and the crisis culminated into what has happened. So it is obvious too that the absence of the local government chairman also contributed into this crisis that we have seen. And so the government has a lot to do in helping this situation, but the police cannot be oblivious of such a situation. They are the ones that primarily are supposed to be taking charge.
Okay. Mr. George in Lagos, thank you for holding on. Go ahead now.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
Good morning to your guest.
Yes.
Mr. Kolugo, I want to thank you for your courage in pointing out the shortcomings of the governor as far as handling this matter is concerned. Uncle Yori, if you want, we may be condemning the police and security forces for one shortcoming or the other. But if you want to know their importance, let them stop work for 24 hours. You will see that criminals will overrun this country and nobody will sleep. Soldiers were sent for a peacekeeping mission. According to the story on theory, please give me 90 seconds to say what I want to say. They now met with the community leaders. After meeting with the community leader on their way back from that community setting, that was when the youth of the community laid ambush on these soldiers and killed them. Not just killing. The nature of killing was they battered their bodies, harvested certain organs of the body, and then all that. And then they were finding parts of the bodies in different places.
Well, as we were hearing, the gory details being...
Another observation, many of the leaders of those communities that have been appearing on television, the body language I read with them is that of complicity. None of them is condemning those people that carried out the act. They're not seeing anything wrong in what they have done. They're always saying, please, we don't want reprisal. What are those people that they killed? And then up to now, Uncle Yori, there is no evidence that the community leaders have been able to fish out these criminals in their midst for them to be punished. That tells me that they know more than they are saying.
Okay.
They are lucky that I am not the commander-in-chief. Uncle Yori, I will wipe out that community from the map of this country.
All right.
It's annoying.
Yeah, it is. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Appreciate your call. Dennis Amakre, you hear it, and indeed, you see the extent that people think we should take the seriousness too. Your comments?
Yes. We are in a democracy right now, and I don't see any reason why we should go and wipe out the whole community, because it is not the whole community that did that. We know that tensions are high, but this is not the approach that we should take. But I still maintain that, we have to rejig our security infrastructure, because the structure is still bad. We should have, if the police is telling us, or the commissioner is saying, no, the military are operating, they've not allowed us to. Allow you where? It is your responsibility. That's an area of responsibility. And then we expect that if they are not strong enough, they would have been trained. And that points a finger at government itself, because we cannot continue to be using military people in internal security. And of course, the military, they are not trained to deal with civilians. That's why I'm even surprised that they went there to do peace mission, because that's not their job. The police itself should have different departments where they go in and then they do this kind of, talking with the communities. So let's train our police strongly. Withdraw all the military people and send them to the borders where they will fight external aggression. If there is a special issue, like we have in the Niger Delta, and the oil theft issue, because These are all part of it. Then the military can be invited, but the military cannot operate alone. There should be a joint task force.
Yeah.
And then of course they know what to do, because this is not the beginning of that joint task force.
Luke is on the line from Port Harcourt. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning, ACC. We are very, very, sorrowful about this shocking news. And to be very plain with you, we are not happy. But in as much as we have said so, I will advise my fellow Nigerians to let emotions off. To let, this kind of tension that is already, and we can really fish it out. We can really digest this. And when we talk about this that happened in Delta State, I really want to plead with the military that they should not in any way give a collective punishment. They should not in any way, make this thing to be like the one that we saw in Bagesa. So, in as much as we have examples to, give, I think we should be well guided so that this should not repeat. The past should not repeat itself in this present. We really need to go into this matter in full so that we can know who to blame, how to blame. We say that we lost a gallant soldier. A command that has over 2 majors is not a simple command. A command that has a captain is not a simple command. So then we should, I am begging the Nigerian government, let us go down. Let us calm down so that we can really know how it was caused. How did this military come in? Was the state government the one called them in? Was the police the one called them for backup? Or was it an order from the president in charge? All these people come in from a private situation. I think we need to calm down. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the commissioner of police in Delta State today. He said he has not been able to go to the ground. The governor yesterday, I heard from him, he has not been able to go to the ground.
Okay.
So that we can really see how this thing goes.
Yep.
So
thank you very much for calling in. Really appreciate your call and all the points that you make. People have been calling that, look, these are delicate times. People have been calling for unbiased investigations. That's understandable because these are very, very sensitive times. I told you the army is in mourning. It has commenced a 3-day period of official mourning, flags to be flown at half-masts. And people are just saying that there should be restraint. Well, restraint but thoroughness. At the end of the day, the president has ordered, and every Nigerian really wants to know about this. We've spoken about that. We can't overstate it since it is not our purpose to inflame anything. But humanitarian groups have also joined in, which must be pointing to maybe their apprehension as well, because you look at it here and you see notable people are urging the military to exercise restraint. Well, the military are professionals. I imagine that, yes, they would have heard that particular admonition. They will be exercising restraint, but they also will be eagerly looking to deliver on the commander-in-chief's order to apprehend these people. And that's what people are looking forward to. Ken, you're optimistic that they can do it. They can actually do it. Unlike situations in the country where it is regrettable to have to say it, but we have heard presidential orders in the past that have not been obeyed. They don't come out and make a whole song and dance about not obeying it. But is this one too far, where you really expect them to be able to deliver on this. The president has said they must be fished out. Are you optimistic that that indeed is what can help all of us, and that indeed is what the investigators are able to do?
Yes, I think the investigators should be able to fish them out. That is why I think the Commissioner of Police Delta should also have been queried for him not being proactive enough. Like I said, there was a boat that was recovered and was taken to Bomadi Police Station. I learned that Okoloba and Okwama communities are under the Otu Jeremy Police Station. So what was the investigation as at then, before the killing of the man from Okoloba? What of the 3 people that were killed? The Okwama, I mean, I called their names here. The names were provided. It's not like they were fictitious people. So what were the investigations that the police did up until the time that the army had to come in? So the investigation has to be a joint investigation, because if the investigation was properly done, I keep saying it could have been nipped in the bud. It's unfortunate. I sympathize with the governor of Delta State, who would find himself at this critical time facing such a crisis when he's just less than 10 months old and has been trying to do a lot in the critical infrastructure of, especially of the Warri axis that was completely neglected by his predecessor in office, and has been, putting so much in place towards maybe his first year in office. To have now been saddled with this is quite unfortunate, because it's something that is going to reverberate for a very long time. Even in OD, I don't think this amount of soldiers were killed. I know there was about 12 policemen that were killed before soldiers were killed. So I think the investigation has to really be thorough. The president was very clear. He signed the press statements himself to underscore the importance of how he feels about the incidents.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ken Okolugbo, political affairs analyst. We're going to have to leave it here for now. Really do appreciate your taking the time out to come into our studio and talk with us about this. Thank you very much, Ken. Now switching over to Dennis Amakre, for you to, give us some remarks on that last point that Ken addressed, that I had made, that Nigeria has the wherewithal to deliver on the president's order that these people must be fished out. Do you have any doubts that we are able to do that, our investigators, whoever they are?
Oh, they will definitely be fished out. In fact, information getting to me indicates that some of the culprits have been identified.
Okay.
And they will fish them out.
Okay.
One thing I'm very, very sure about with police and even the military, if you kill one of them, they will get you.
Okay.
And this is internationally.
Indeed.
Because, yes, even in the United States, you don't kill a policeman, they will get you. They will definitely get you. So don't worry about that. I think those culprits, except they run out of this country. If they run out of Nigeria, there is Interpol also waiting for them.
Thank you very much, Dennis, for coming on the program. Dennis Amakre, security consultant, and we appreciate. I know there's a time difference, so thank you for taking the extra efforts to be with us. You being from a different time zone out of the country. Thank you very much. As I also expressed our thanks to Mr. Okolugbo as well earlier. So that's our program today. We'll leave it there for now. As soon as there's more to be said on it, we'll be back on the subject matter. Thank you very much for watching the program. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.